All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Atlanta. Good morning, Southeast. Good morning, East Coast. Good morning, wherever you are. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being at the Daily Huddle. Today we have a really special guest with a really cool question, and I'm really excited to introduce him. And actually, man, this is so great because Dr. Uganda is supposed to be here. I know you know that, but for X or Y reasons, she is not here, and I'm sure she's gonna come in a minute. But I do get to introduce someone I really like. So not long ago, I got the opportunity to become friends to one of our favorite clients. I hope none of my clients are hearing me here. So I got an opportunity to meet Brian, and Brian was the vice president of accounting. And this is really big guy. I'm gonna spot him right here. This is Brian right here, right? And then we became friends. And in one of the dinners, I had a chance to meet his son. And where is his son? Where did he go? Oh, there he is. Then I had a chance to meet his son. And Sorel and I, we were, and Anna and friends, and we were chatting. And all of a sudden, Jayden started speaking. And Brian, I spotted you. Just say hi, Brian.
Hello. How are you?
Awesome. So Brian is amazing, and we became friends. And then he introduced us to his son, and his son. I'm going to say just a few things about you, Jayden, and then I know it's the tip of the iceberg of who you are. But then Jayden starts speaking to Sorel and I, our friends, and he starts kind of creating this world for us where the table kind of just starts paying attention. Like, wait, Jayden had something to say. And then Sorel and Brian and I were like, shh, wait, Jayden's speaking. He's something that we need to hear this guy out. So from there, I just wanted to give you some context. So from there, Sorel and Jayden has had conversations, and then we invited Jayden for today. And it is because of what was showing up in those small conversations that make a difference. So Jayden, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Brian, thank you for introducing us to Jayden.
Thank you for inviting me.
Awesome. Oops. So here's what I want to say. Jayden, here's the question for today, and then you give us a sense of what comes up for you inside of this question. How does faith and a connection with God shapes your view of success? Now, imagining that as a young man as you are, success is kind of shaping and you're having some relationship with it. And success for you looks different from success for you 5 years ago, and maybe it's going to look for you, success for you 20 years from now. But there's something you're including in this conversation that is very powerful, and is how does faith connect with it all? So give us a sense of what's there for you when this question shows up.
Yeah, of course. So when I think about how faith influences my ideas of success as a 19-year-old, I would say that, I mean, it's of course, it's completely changed how I viewed it. When I was younger, I viewed success as more of a monetary thing, just making it in life and having enough money to enjoy life. But as I became more entrenched in my faith, I would say that success for me now is less about money and a lot more about purpose. It's not so much what you're doing, but why you do it now. That's success. Success is no longer what I'm doing or the job I have, but why I do that job and what the end goal is. It's about impacting people. That's success.
Yeah, I like how you're framing it. For me, I'm really seeing it for myself, Jayden. Now, I'm curious, Jayden, like, most 19 years old don't think like a Buddha, right? So what happened, right? What happened? Where you had this view of success that is very common, that there's nothing wrong with to want the Ferrari, the boat, the girls, the power. There's nothing wrong with all of that. And it's very common. And some people like myself never quite let that go. But then you're saying something powerful. The idea about success started shifting and it became about faith and it became about purpose. What happened? What had you have that dramatic shift?
I'd say that shift started pretty early into my journey when I really realized that being a child of God, of letting faith dictate your life and letting it impact you like that, it really means that now it's not so much about living for you, just for the self. It's you're starting to want not more, but you want to do more, because not for some goal, but because you know that it's a good thing to do. It's right. It feels good. It's the proper like path. And so I'd say that when I really started to get into my faith journey, I started thinking about not so much what I can do for me, but how I can help others, how can I impact the world. Because if I was being honest with myself, even that desire to have money it wasn't wrong, but it was just it was a little closed-minded. I was thinking about only me. And as I went on this journey of faith, you realize how not small you are, but how much more there's out there that's out there for more than just you that you can do too.
You said something that I really like. Now, you're not quite giving us that, or giving me, I'm just curious, that moment, that moment of impact. But you did say something really beautiful, and I want to recreate that. You said it's not about at a particular point as you started discovering yourself as a child of God. Now, that's a big thing to say. That's a beautiful thing to say. I certainly haven't discovered it for myself. I'm not saying I'm not, I just haven't discovered it, like the possibility of that. So thank you for creating that possibility for me. But then you said, I discovered that it's not about having more. Maybe it's about doing more. And say more about that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I could give you a specific event where I really came to my faith and I started realizing and having these conversations. But the important thing I learned about this whole faith journey is that it's this journey. And so you're never quite done learning. I learn things all the time, every single day that completely changes something that I viewed a month ago or 2 months ago. And so then from there, um, when I start to think about doing more and helping others, I really start to think about something that I used to think to myself, where it was that I wanted to change the world, but you don't have to change the world to change somebody's world. You can impact things on a smaller scale and still impact things. I mean, you think about people all up in government or high places of power where they make decisions that change the world. But then there's the people that volunteer and go out and feed the homeless, and that changes somebody's world.
Wow. So let me get that for myself, because I want to get that for myself. You don't have to change the world to change somebody's world. And I can see, Jayden, and I appreciate your saying it with that simplicity. I can see that a lot of the people who have changed the world, and I have studied, never changed my world. And the people who saw what you saw and what you see, that maybe I don't need to worry about changing the world. Maybe I can make an impact to the person next to me and maybe impact their world. It changes everything about them. And that simplicity, I never quite saw it for myself, Jayden. Now, you said that this other thing I really love that you're pointing to, and maybe I'm going to try one more time. I'm still wondering what was the thing that happened that, that had Jayden had that epiphany. Was it like you fell into a hole, or you went to one day you went to church and the youth pastor or someone just said this one thing, or maybe you had a fight with your father, and then your father had a moment of epiphany and he said something awesome, or I want to know like what happened, but you said something really powerful, or a girlfriend. There's something called the faith journey. And I was wondering if you had a few other things to say about that, about the faith journey.
Yeah.
Because I think I have my own, I have my own faith journey, but I'd love to hear how you see it.
Yeah, and I can even tie it in with what you were asking about how I really fell into it, because it was my journey, and I think the faith journey is very individual. But I was in a bit of a dark place, and I think that's how a lot of people find their ways to God or to faith is they were in a dark place and they're really looking for that out. And mine was related to I was questioning just a couple existential things because my grandfather had passed away, and I wasn't happy with that conclusion that he was just gone. I couldn't accept like this man that I spent a lot of time with, and we did all these things together, but he was just, I was never going to see him again, and he was nowhere. I wasn't I was struggling with that a lot. And so I went on this a couple month journey of trying to learn everything I can about every single religion, not just one. I was trying to just figure out if I could find some sort of purpose or solution that I couldn't find just by looking at it in one dimension. And so then I fell into this spiral, and then one night I was getting dinner with my friend, and these two guys were just in line behind us waiting to get food, and me and my friend were having this conversation about wanting to find God because we wanted to find this other purpose, this something that we could put our faith in. And these two guys overheard us, and then we just had this conversation about Christianity and about how they were children of God, and how they came to God in college, and they would be happy to talk to us about it. And so then we had this long conversation about faith and about where you put your faith and how it shapes you. And that night I prayed for the first time. I got down on my knees and I asked God that if this is what he wanted from me, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'd be willing to try. And I think that's really important on the faith journey. It's okay to fail. You're gonna fail a lot. It's something you really learn is not only are you gonna fail, but you don't really have a chance of succeeding. It's not about an end goal when you're on that journey. It's all about just trying to better yourself.
Well, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. I like how thank you for giving us the recollection of your faith journey. I'm sorry about your grandfather. And I can imagine when you say I was in a dark place and asking existential questions, and it was an existential crisis. And as you say, more often than not, it is those dark places when we discover how close God is to oneself, right? And I can certainly say that for myself. I also really appreciating which you say it. You're saying there's different dimensions into look at faith and existential crisis and dark places. And then you looked at this one, and you were with your friend having spiritual connections or spiritual questions. What is this for? Such a great question. And then these two guys just kind of joined the conversation, and man, that could have been any other kind of guys. They could have talked about strippers and who knows what the hell. But these guys were saying, no, there's this one dimension to look at life, and you took it on and you tried and you prayed for the first time. I got that. Thank you for sharing your faith journey. I love that. So now I want to continue to have conversations with you and get things from you, because I'm really discovering the power of a young mind for myself. I'm really discovering it. And I can see for myself while you're speaking, Jayden, that I've gotten lazy with certainty and I'm not discovering my personal faith journey again. So thank you for doing that for me. So I want to include maybe some of like Sorel. Sorel is not driving anymore. So I want to include Sorel and anyone else who wants to have a comment or a question. Go ahead, Sorel.
Jayden, I love the way you put it. God, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm on my knees right here. And if this is what you want for me, I'm willing to try and I'm willing to fail at it. And you create for me the picture of this journey that involves failing over and over, because as the human being I am, I can't know what it is to have a connection with God. I'm interested to hear, how are you continuing to fail over and over on this? It's just beautiful.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's not even the big ways that you fail, you know, it's all the small ones that they matter, of course, and they matter for many different reasons, because you learn when you fail. And it's the little things I do when I don't, when I told God the night before, but I really wanted to learn something tomorrow and read from the Bible and really understand it, and I don't pick up the Bible that day. Or I really wanted to go to church and pray, but I just couldn't focus on the message. And it's these not overarching things, but all these little things that I wanted to do on this journey, because the journey for me as a Christian is to get closer to Christ, is to be more Christ-like, to act in that certain way. And when I spend a day apart from Him, I feel like I failed, and it's not a great feeling. And then I'll pray about it, and I'll let God know that today I didn't live up to what I wanted from myself, or what I think He wanted from me on this journey. But it's not about me failing. I think that's really important. I think the most important step that you can take as a person is the next one. And so I tell God that I did fail today, but tomorrow I'll try not to too, and I might fail too. But then the next day I'll try not to, and I might fail too. And then the next day I might fail, but I'll try not to, and I'll keep trying. And that's more important. That's something I was saying earlier. It's God's okay with you failing. He'll always leave that door open for you to try again. It's about yourself mainly. I think a lot of Christians, when they fail at being the ideal Christian that they wanted to be, they move further away from God because they feel like they fail, like they're a failure. And I think that's an important distinction that Christians need to make, is that God has no problem with you failing. It's almost impossible to succeed, but God would love for you to try again.
Wow. And it is, what I'm getting for myself, Jayden, and for my own spiritual journey, is that perhaps the spiritual journey that God wants us to have is to come the way you come at it, to come to know God and to fail at it over and over, and to learn that to forgive myself and to try again is exactly what this journey is all about. So I'm getting the sense that there is forgiving yourself that's necessary to stay on the journey and to continue to get closer. And perhaps the farther I feel as a human being, maybe the closest I've ever gotten to God.
Yeah, forgiveness is massive. Yeah, that's something that I struggle with and still struggle with, is this idea of it, that you have to forgive yourself and forgive others, and it's, if you have a hard time doing it, something that I thought about and learned was that I have to think about over and over again when I'm trying to forgive myself, is that God does forgive you every single time, and that relationship with Him is built on forgiveness and on mercy and on love. And so it's not pretentious, but if you are unable to forgive yourself, then why do you think God can so much every single time? Forgive others, but God can every single time.
Wow. So it's almost as if we could give ourselves the permission to fail at all of it. Because in the end, God can. Wow. To discover that even at my best, the best I can do is fail, and God will always pick it up.
Every single time. Every
Thank
single
you for
time.
reading that, Jayden.
Thank you, Sorrel. Thank you for jumping in. And if anyone else wants to jump in, go ahead and raise your hand. In the meantime, I want to ask you this, Jayden. I'm really curious to get your perspective. Well, first, I want to recreate something you said that I really found profound. The most important step you will take is the next one. And in the context of faith, you said that a lot of women and men who find themselves failing at what for them is to be Christ-like. When they find themselves failing at that, they don't see the trying as one step closer. They see the failing as one step farther. And I thought that was really profound. And I also saw it for myself. I struggle with a particular faith to take on. However, I definitely don't struggle anymore that in this concept of being a spiritual being. And I no longer struggle with that. And I think that one of the openings you gave me was every step I fail at being the man I want to be for the planet, the one who forgives, the one who keeps trying. Every step I fail is a step closer. And I never quite saw it that way. So I really appreciate you said it that way. Also, but I wanted to get a sense of this question for you. There are folks who struggle like myself for many years in settling in one particular faith. Yet, one of the things that I hear you're saying is there is the kind of peace of mind that is available to anyone when we take on this faith journey. Do you mind saying a little bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. And when it comes to settling in one's faith, I think that in itself is the start of a journey. It's a different one from settling into the faith. Me personally, I spent a couple months really wanting to find a faith without settling on one or the other and not knowing what I wanted out of faith and what I wanted for myself. Because being a Christian now has nothing to do with what being Christian gets for me, but what I can do for others by being Christian. And so that was important for me. And I think
That is so effing beautiful, man. Man, I don't know if you can remember to say that exactly the same way, as I want to write it down. Can you say that again?
I believe I said that it's being when I became a Christian, it stopped being about what being a Christian can get from me, but what I can do for others as a Christian.
That's a bomb. Thank you for saying that. Continue. That was profound.
Yeah. So I spent this time then trying to understand what being a Christian, what it really meant, what being a Muslim meant, and following Islam, what being a Jew meant, and it was this journey of not wanting certain things out of religion, but trying to find what was right, even if I didn't particularly like it, because it's not being following religion isn't about it all working for you all the time and you love everything that you're doing and everything feels great all the time, because that wouldn't take faith and wouldn't take suffering and that wouldn't take hard work if you loved every single thing that you were doing about something. It's more about putting in that effort because you know that the payoff that at the end of the line there's going to be something good. And with Christianity, what I found really was that when whatever I'm doing in Christianity, I really feel like at the end of all of it, I'll have impacted maybe not the world but people in a positive way. And that's something that gave me a lot of comfort, was that I began to realize that, like, at the end of this journey, I truly feel like I will have helped somebody maybe not come to Christianity, but have helped them live their life with more purpose or love or kindness even, because that is a big tenet of Christianity, is to love your neighbor. And that's a hard one. People don't think about it often, but it's to love unconditionally everyone as best as you can is really difficult. It's it's
Man,
it's very rewarding.
I don't, Jayden, I don't know if there is an answer, but that's the answer to solving the big question of what's the purpose of religion for all of it. That's the answer. I love how you said it, man. What a journey. This is what a journey. It's not about what the faith does for me. It's about who I can be as a man that represent. How did you say it? Thank God this is recorded, man, because I'm gonna write it down. I'm gonna find this moment and I'm gonna
Yeah.
because I'll say one thing, Sorrel, because I think I'm gonna say it wrong, Jayden. I'm gonna say what I got wrong, but I really feel identified with what you said for me. Like it settles something for me, which is it's not about it's like this, Geo. It's not about the faith you choose. It's about whatever you choose. Who are you going to be for the world? Who are you going to be for the next person? And also, what I'm getting from this is, Gio, you don't need to worry so much about changing the world. See if you can be present enough to the person next to you so that you can impact their world. And this whole entire Daily Huddle day with you, Jayden, has settled for me very big questions that have been wandering around in my mind for the last 40 years. So thank you, Jayden. Thank you. Go ahead, Sorrel. I needed to say that, Sorrel.
Oh, thank you for saying that. It's all one conversation, one word. But Jayden, what you're leaving me with is something that I read a long time ago and that I continue to remind myself of, is that perhaps to be on the journey is to have it that my one job is salvation, and that what is salvation is me forgiving others and me forgiving myself and me going back on my knees every time saying, God, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Continue to guide me. And then being open to surrendering to whatever that is. So I want to thank you for all of that. You created it beautifully.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And I think surrendering is quite possibly the hardest thing I've done on my faith journey because I really didn't know what I was surrendering to when I first surrendered. And then I went on this multi-month journey of understanding that I didn't truly surrender because of the way I thought or the way I acted. Because surrendering is it's very it's one of those things that you understand and realize that it's like it takes much more of you, of your heart and of your mind to surrender than you first think it does. Because truly surrendering to a God or to a faith, it takes complete faith. And faith is really hard because it's a complete faith, and it innately requires no evidence. You can't believe in something on faith and then have proof that it exists. And so surrendering to that was hard because even though I believed in God and even though I wanted to be a better Christian, when I told myself that I was surrendering the first couple of times, the first couple of 100 times, I realized that the way I was thinking proved that I wasn't surrendering. But not even the big ways, but the small ways that I was so doubtful or so scared, and then I started to have conversations with myself about how I can't be scared or doubtful of the future and then trust and surrender into an almighty God. It's paradoxical, which was horrifying to really understand at first because then you realize that if to really surrender, you truly have to give yourself over to a higher power, which is really difficult.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
so difficult, right? And it's hitting me like a 2x4, Jayden, that there is no understanding a connection with God. That's what I hear you say. And that to surrender, I literally have to give up everything. Like give up my body, give up my mind, give up my knowledge, give up what I know about religion, give up what I know about being a Christian, give it all up. So, to enter into a relationship with God, I'm hearing you say that a human being probably needs to do the unthinkable and perhaps the impossible, which is to enter into a relationship with God. I may have to be in some way God myself.
It's definitely is extremely strange relationship with him, where you have to understand that you were made in his image, yes, but you're also completely flawed in a way that there's such a disconnect that it's really hard for you to trust in your own power, and so then you do have to kind of give yourself over to this God, and with it comes all these things that you start to realize and think about, where you're 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 not enough, and that's okay because no one is. That was an important thing that I had to learn. Where when I was learning about the Christian faith, I had to learn that something like heaven was unobtainable, and so I should stop worrying about it, because the idea of heaven, we were only given access to it because of Jesus Christ putting himself on the cross, taking away our sins, and so there's no human alive or ever will be that's worthy of entering heaven. And that was something very difficult that I had to learn, because at the time when I first got into my faith, I was struggling with this idea of someone that I loved and I was close to not being in heaven, or wondering where they were. And so it's I'd say being this relationship with Christ and then with God, it ends up being this learning experience where you'll learn something new, and then you'll be like, oh, I have no idea about literally anything, and then you learn something new and you'll be like, oh, now I know nothing again, so I have to keep learning. It's just a learning relationship.
Yeah. And what a beautiful relationship that is.
I like that. I know nothing again. And I think that's a great term to wrap up today's conversation. I know nothing again. Um, that leaves me in questioning. That leaves me in a journey. That leaves me exploring. And then when I think I know something, go back to I know nothing again. And I love that. I love ending the possibility of today's conversation. Jayden, thank you for being here. Thank you for creating this conversation with all of us. It's been profound. It's been enlightening, and acknowledging the human being that you are really expands the possibility that I could be. So thank you,
Thank you for
Jayden.
having me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're welcome, man. Sorrel,
Yeah.
is there anything you want to say to end today's conversation?
Yeah. I want to say dot, 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 meaning to be continued. It is absolutely imperative that you come back onto the Daily Huddle to
Yeah,
continue this conversation.
of
Uh,
course.
and and we would just love that.
I would
The
love to be back.
contribution that your speaking is to your generation and generations beyond you is unfathomable. So thank you.
Thank you. I'd love to be
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So, Jayden, we normally have this way of um, surrendering to ending the daily huddle. So, I want to say 8 ways, tenets, principles to give you a great life, have a great spiritual journey, faith journey. And then the first, so for today and for the rest of the week, love. Love always, love those who have an opinion about, love those who disagree, love those who share a different faith, love those who share no faith, love those who you think completely the opposite, love those who voted different from you. Love, love. Smile, stress your chicks. It helps you to look like Brian, sexy and handsome. Smile. It creates all the right chemicals to have a great life. Sleep more. At least 8 hours a day. The more you sleep, the better you feel. Eat more plant-based. Get closer to the trees. Hug the trees. Eat the trees. Avoid processed foods. Every day, move a little bit. In the morning, 10 minutes. Go outside. Walk for 10 minutes. Right after lunch, walk outside for another 10 minutes. Every day, move. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Check your assumptions. Go back to, I know nothing. Go back to that and have a wonderful day. Thank you all for being here. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.